All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. With me, I have Ankit Gupta. Today's presentation is Secure by Construction, Architecting System that can defend themselves. We will be exploring how to build systems, enterprise IT infrastructure, cloud native applications, and any of the general software, how security can be wound from the starting. In this session, I will cover current threat landscape of 2024 and 2025. And we will discuss the core principle of secure system, modern architectural pattern for resilience and isolation, AI enhanced security approaches, and real world breach cases we will talk about. The goal of this presentation is to understand and to show why secure by design is no longer an option. It has become a necessity to defend against today's sophisticated threat, and let's dive in. Here's our roadmap for the presentation. We will start by surveying the current threat landscapes of 2025, what kind of attacks and vulnerabilities are plaguing organization, including a risk throughout the software development lifecycle. Next, we will outline the core principle of secure by design, essential to how to bake security into product and system for intercepting rather than bolting it in later. We will then look into the architectural pattern that promotes resilience and isolation. Think of this as a design strategy to contain damage and ensure continuity even under attack. And discuss mechanism for self-defending systems that can detect and react to threat autonomously. We will cover how AI being used to enhance security by defenders and briefly by attackers, because 2024 to 2025 seeing AI becoming a double-edged sword in cybersecurity. Let me clarify what we mean by secure by construction. First, it's mean security is baked in from the start. From the very first, blueprint is the final development. Security must be part of the foundation, not afterthought. Think of designing a bank. You will plan to have a strong wall, and of course the walls. You will try to secure all the entry points. You will not build a flimsy building and try to later enforce the lock pads. The same principle applies to the software and networks. Security should be architected into the structure, not patched on later. Similarly, products should be secure by defaults within sensible secure setting out of the box. For example, an identity system might require multi-factor authentication by default or ship with a secure configuration, so that the customer aren't left behind to harden it by themselves. Next, design for failure and containment. This is like having a water tightening compartment in a submarine. Even if one section is breached, the whole vessel does not flood. In practical, this means segmenting network and limiting privileges so that any single compromisation can be isolated. We want system that can act like an immune system, automatically detect anomaly, shutting it down or quarantining effective components. Finally, secure by construction spans the entire development life cycle. At each phases, planning, designing, implementing, deploying, testing, and maintenance. We integrate security measures such as threat modeling at design code, analysis during deployment, and pen testing during testing, before it goes live and continuous monitoring in production. The end-to-end integration ensure that there are no weak links in the chain where security is ignored. Before we dive into threats and defense, let's grab what is at stake. Breaches are incredibly costly today. According to an IBM and other, the average cost breach reaches approximately $4.45 billion in 2023. This is the highest ever recorded breach happened in that year. This direct expenses like cleanup, notification to the victims, and of course the damages to the business and the damage to the brand itself. In sectors like healthcare, this situation is worsened with an average of more than $10 million per incident. Meanwhile, the number of records exposed is significant. In 2024 alone, just the 35 most significant breaches exploited 5.4 billion records with over $3 billion in fines tied to those privacy violations. These numbers are staggering and illustrative how our data is being spilled over massive scale. Importantly, more breaches have a human factor in it. Verizon and others reported that roughly 74% of breaches involves human error or social engineering. A single employee failing for phishing email or a single cloud admin misconfiguring a server can open the door for attackers. And the impact isn't confined to the IT system, it spills into the real world. We are seeing ransom attacks leading to the gas station outage, IT hospitals outage, forcing ambulance to get diverted. In short, insecure system does not just incur financial losses, they can disrupt crucial services, even endanger lives. This underscores why secure by construction is so critical. The cost of insecurity has become instability. Let's take a look at threat landscape we had through 2024 and in 2025. First, we are seeing a surge of vulnerability. Last year alone, over 30,000 of new software flaws were disclosed and discovered. A 17% jump from the year 2023, and attackers weren't waiting around a 0 day, are being exploited within the day of discovery. A notable example is MoveIt SQL injection breach in 2023, which impacted million organizations around immediately after disclosure. Then there is credential abuse. And this is where the say comes in. Hacker doesn't need to break in, they simply log in. IBM X-Force report that stolen credentials were behind approximately 30% of breaches in 2024, which is in line with the web application hacking. These even are criminal marketing for MFA bypass kits that intercept one-time codes, making it easier to monetize phishing campaign or dark web credential dumps. Phishing and social engineering are still huge. About a quarter of breaches, but we are seeing few generic spray and pray attacks. Instead of attackers are moving towards highly targeted, they target spear phishing and even AI-powered deepfake. We have seen a couple of cases where the deepfake voices are being used to transfer the funds in previous years. And we cannot ignore the supply chain attack. These are up more than 4-fold in recent year, and analysts predict nearly half of the organization will be hit by this attack in 2026. The idea is simple: compromise a vendor or compromise a MSP, and you will gain access to all of their customers. SolarWind Orin was a textbook example. 18,000 victim thought a trusted software update. And there's one more example is Kezai was another one, which got a ransom delivered via one of the MSPs update in the update process. The key takeaway from this is weak links, whether it is unpatched code or stolen credential or insecure supplier, opens the door for the attackers. To defend effectively, we have to secure the entire ecosystem, not just the wall or just a boundary of any enterprise network. We have to think about secure by design and secure by construction. So, to truly achieve secure by construction, we must shift left, meaning we integrate into the early stage of software development lifecycle and carry it through the deployment and maintenance. Threat modeling at the design, gather architecture, security engineer, early ask questions to them. How could this be abused? For example, an e-commerce app might need server-side price validation or multi-factor authentication for admins. The early discovery of such kind of issues would be easier to fix and would be cheaper for an organization to apply any kind of security in it. Secure code and review, follow essential secure code standards, avoid unsafe functions, and use safer languages where possible. Every feature should have security acceptance criteria, that is input validation, audit, and logging. Use SAST letters and human code review to catch flaws. Spotting them now cost far lesser than post-production fixes. Automate security in CI/CD, embed static analysis, dependency checks, and container image scanning into the build pipelines. Block building with severe severities to prevent production incidents. We should always remember the cost curve. It's $1 to fix in design phase, it's $10 to fix in coding phase, it's $100 to fix in test case, but it's $1,000 to fix in production. DevSecOps culture, make securities everyone's job, treat security defects like functional bugs, use infrastructure as a code with secure defaults and enforce them thoroughly, and automate policies check. High DevSecOps maturity can save millions per breach by preventing or response fast. Rigorous pre-deployment testing is the next. Run pen test and red team exercise to find weaknesses that tool might miss. Conduct incident response drill, that is API key leaks scenarios to enable operations team to detect and contain threats quickly. By embedding threat modeling, secure coding, automated check, DevSecOps practice, and testing thoroughly in the SDLC, we raise the cost for attacker while we are really lowering it for our own cost to fix. When we think about the secure by construction, we have to remember that risk can creep into at every stage of software development lifecycle. And if we are not careful, they can break security before we can even realize it. Let's start with the design phase. That's where insecure choices such as skipping authentication for sensitive functions or selecting a weak password hashing algorithm introduce vulnerability directly into the blueprint. So that's where OAPs also placed secure by design into their top 10 in 2021. If we skip threat modeling or security architecture review at this stage, we are making dangerous assumptions, slipping through and becoming very, it will become very hard to fix it in the production. Then there is implementation when modern applications rely on a vast number of open source dependency. Sometimes hundreds of single projects, they can save times, but they also bring risk. Consider Log4j scenario. A single flaw a single flaw widely used in library triggered a global scramble. In 2023 alone, 2.1 billion vulnerable components were downloaded. And in 96% of the cases, the patches were already available. So what happened? In most of the cases, those packages were not updated, so we have to think about, we need to keep our software up to date. Tools like software composition analysis, ASBOM can track those essential details for us. The build and pipeline stage can also be a triggering point if an attacker compromises a CI/CD environment, such as build server or developer's account. They can insert malicious code into the product before it even shipped. The CodeCav breach in 2021 is the prime example, as is the SolarWind incident. Protecting this stage means signing builds, isolated runners, and stringent access control. Finally, there's deployment and configuration. Misconfiguration remain one of the most common and preventable issues, leaving a cloud bucket open, using default admin password, or misconfiguring storage buckets leak email and SSH from multiple companies. Automated infrastructure as a code, scans, and secure default go a longer way towards preventing this. The takeaway: each phase from design to code, building, and deployment has its pitfall. If we do not address them all, we will leave cracks in the foundations. But if we do, we are very much to truly securing by construction system. Now I will hand over to my co-speaker Ankit to drive this further with architectural strategies. Thank you.
Thank you. You got 2 speakers for this session. Consider this as a multi-factor authentication. So thank you, Shilpi. Now let's discuss specific architectural patterns that promotes the isolation and containment. So we are focusing on the architectural strategies, what we have to devise to make a secure software, not in the design phase as well as during the development, construction planning, testing, as well as the final delivery stage. So one of the first and the foremost strategies is the micro-segmentation. In the past, companies have flat networks. Once you were in, you could move around freely. With micro-segmentation, we shrink those trust zones. Each app or workload gets its segment with only the connection it needs. This is already deployed in one of my known company. So for example, the authentication service which resides in the subnet, and the only thing that can communicate with it would be the web front end. So if a malware lands on a user's laptop, it can't magically reach to the finance database. So there's just no path. Next is the identity. First, zero trust. Just because it's coming from internal IP doesn't mean we need to trust on it. We have to have authorization with strong things like service account, service certificates, MFA, tokens. We enforce least privilege. So if an attacker compromises one service, it can't automatically access another one. Then there is a compartmentalization, which is the most important. Think of it like a ship with the watertight compartments. For example, if users upload files, they are processed in a sandbox container that cannot be accessed by the rest of the system. And keep your web servers, app servers, and database servers on separate hosts or containers with narrow, well-defined interfaces. Least privilege goes hand in hand with these users and services, and of course, the processes should all run with the bare minimum rights. If your web app only needs to read certain table, don't give the database admin access, which is of course followed in most of the cases. Finally, the safer technology choices we can make. So for example, memory safe languages such as Rust or Go eliminate the entire class of memory corruption bugs. It can escape the sandboxes or run arbitrary code. Well-vetted frameworks that enforce input validation by default help make sure one small mistake doesn't blow a hole in the hole for defenses. So on the next, we have a few more. So beyond preventing the breaches, secure by construction also means building systems that can take a hit and keep going. Attacks will happen. The goal is to bend without breaking. One mindset is designing for failure. So borrowed from reliability engineering, this is a keyword. It refers to planning for components such as servers, services, and network links. To fail or to be attacked, we build in redundancy and graceful degradation. So if a database goes down, we promise a replica of this or a server cache data. If a DDoS attack floods one region, traffic is redirected to others. Again, of course, this is already being used in most of the clouds. Critical services which could be fail-safe, not fail-open, such as freezing risky transactions when anomalies are detected, while the rest of the system continue to run. Fault isolation and the bulkheads prevent one failure from syncing everything. The circuit breaking pattern stops service A from hanging while service B is down, servicing cached or default data instead. And of course, the rate limiters to protect the APIs from overload. So with immutable infrastructure, we don't patch hacked servers, we replace them using like hardened golden images, which of course most of the time people use, most of the organizations are using. We can tear down and rebuild from a known good state in minutes, faster. It's very faster, cleaner, and wipes out any kind of hidden malware if there is any. So backups are still essential. We need to isolate so attackers can't encrypt those backups or delete them. And of course, finally, there should be a chaos engineering. It's a term for security intentionally to simulate failures or breaches. What happens if a critical security service is shut down? If credentials leak, does monitoring catch unusual logins? Those kind of things. So basically, in short, through this architectural strategies, we try to convey that resilience means the system can contain damage, recover fast, and keep essential functions running. That's the mark of a truly secure by construction design. So far we have talked about making systems hard to break. Now let's move on to the self-defending, which is a key topic. So we have first continuous monitoring for anomaly detection. There are many tools available in the market to do that. Instead of just making known attack signature, we use behavior analytics, also known as the UEBA, user entity and behavior analytics. For example, if database usually handles 100 queries a minute, suddenly goes thousands requests, suddenly receive thousands requests, it will be creating an alert for a suspicious session. Or maybe a location-based change, somebody accessing from Texas and you get a request coming from Russia or some other countries. So detection is just step one, automated response is the second step, which is a key point, because just after the detection, if it happens in the middle of the night, there should be a clear response process for this as well. So the speed is again critical at the speed at which you respond to that issue. If malware is detected, the system might instantly quarantine that machine in the cloud. Suspicious behavior might trigger automatic isolation of the server or the load balancer. This is part of a SOA, which is again part of the SOC. Then there is a deception technology, digital tripwires. Again, there are so many tools available for that. If an attacker interacts with them, we can instantly detect the interaction and trigger alerts or slow them down. It forces attackers to question everything they find. Then we have RASP, which is runtime application self-protection. It brings defense inside the application itself. Finally, we have the baseline integrity monitoring. The system knows exactly what its critical files, if binaries and configs will look like. So if anything is modified, or encryption is disabled, it will be generating an alert and it will flag it and it will restore to the good known state. So together these systems make the system active in defense, spotting, responding, and sometimes neutralizing threats automatically. My co-speaker said, the AI is quickly becoming a double-edged sword. On the positive side, AI is transforming threat detection, which we have already seen because we have so many agents coming in using AI, even from the security side, generating alerts. We have machine learning, anomaly detection. Like at 3 a.m. something happens, it will flag it because that's an unusual time for a human being. So AI or an admin trying to log in at morning 5 o'clock doing something, it will also flag. But it also speeds up the incident responses, which we have seen already because there are so many tools. One of them is Security Copilot, released by Microsoft. Then you have AI assistant trained on cybersecurity data, which are helping the people. So IBM also says that there is a significant reduction in the time to respond to any kind of breach or detection. It's also making a difference in vulnerability discovery. AI can scan code bases or patterns like known flaws, or it can also spot insecure APIs. During the development, if it gets integrated, it will be also checking for security, warning developers in real time, like this is not good or this may have an open source library which is already in the past compromised. Again, then there is another side as well. Attackers are also using AI. So generative AI can craft convincing phishing emails, as we have already seen. So I also get from personal email, I get some emails from PayPal invoice. That is quite common these days. It will look convincing, but it's actually a phishing. So we also have seen the AI can also look for autonomous hunting for zero-day vulnerability. The upside, the companies are investing in AI-driven security. These days in 2024, it all started after the release of generative AI, of course after 2023. So the AI is basically a force multiplier. To be genuinely secure by construction, we need this adaptive, intelligent defenses built in because the attackers will have them too. So let's talk about the future-proofing the systems. The first is the building a security-first culture. It's still being done. It's already there from 2022 or 2023, just after the COVID, but it's still a verbal. It never happens. People are struggling to have this security-first culture. Then the second one is the adopting the zero trust in stages. You don't just flip a switch in a single day and you are having a zero trust. It takes a time. So it's like people say this, don't boil the ocean altogether, do simple baby steps one by one to have zero trust, because it's a very big deal. Then we have to secure the supply chain in case you are dealing with those, even if it would be a vendor or you yourself are a supply chain vendor providing services, you have to make sure that you are well secured, because if one supplier get affected, there would be thousands of victims, including but not limited to the organizations which are using that supplier. Then you have the AI and automation in picture. Use it to spot anomalies, speed up your investigations and act quickly. Basically, it's trying to keep humans in the loop for oversight, but also accept that scale demands a machine sometimes. So finally, commit to continuous improvement, because threats will shift, maybe quantum tomorrow. That's a new word these days, because we are facing a new threat, quantum threats, which is like even NIST is forcing us to work on that, because by 2035, all these algorithms of encryption, RSA, ECC, those would be outdated very easily after the quantum computers are easily available by 2035. It's already happening. The core principles again remains the same. You have to leverage AI, phase in zero trust, build secure culture, and whatever you design, whatever you think, you have to make sure that the security is always embedded, not just tell about it or plan about it. You have to make sure it's enforced. That's what the secure by construction, a little difference between the secure by design and the secure by construction. Because in design, we promise ourselves that we will make software secure, but we don't do that, because it's like by the time the software gets the final day, it may have some flaws. But if you follow secure by construction approach, which is a little, you can say it's same or it's little obvious, by the time the development also happen, you will enforce that all the security is part of the tools which are being developed. Then we have the key takeaways. Secure by construction, like I said, is about being proactive. We shift security left by building it from the start, rather by bolting on it and after an incident, because the data is precise. The organizations that invest in upfront measures such as DevSecOps. Second, the threat landscape demands it based on the current landscape we have already seen. And then the next step is to start with the basic, make MFA universal. I know MFA is still not being forced, even in 2025. That's pretty weird. The vision is optimistic by designing the systems that inherently defend themselves through strong architecture, isolation, and intelligence. We may achieve a secure software to be delivered. These are some of the resources before I wrap up. It's already there, which you can use in your design phase. That's all.
Thank you.